Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Namaste. I hope you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Thank you, Gary. Yes. Okay. So this week we had a guest who, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get into the streaming. We've had some problems, and I don't know what's going on. They're telling that the browser that he's using is not working, so I'm not sure. But thank you, everybody, for being here this week. And what I was talking about was the continuation of something that came through last week with our breathing and how we're deciding. And I know it says perspectives from the sky. I changed it. It went back. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to just offer the message that would have been. I had a guest, and hopefully we'll be able to work things out and he'll come on another time. I'm not sure what's going on with the restream today. So through our breath, we're building an internal house for the attributes, the 7 houses they call of Christ, which is an internal type of an exercise that we consider. And so last week we did the house of purity, and we breathed in the house of purity. This week I want to talk to you a little bit about the house of generosity. And the reason that we're even doing any of this is so that our prayers, what they're doing is creating, and we're asking God to assist us to evict the ego from the house inside of our heart, evict that discordant energy so that we can actually embody the 7 houses of Christ, the 7 robes. Remember last week we were talking about how we envision this. So the prayers that we say, and if you'll give me just a minute, I want to bring you into resonance within the prayer for the body, mind, and the spirit to come together through the breath. Beloved God, we request in our heart to pray to create a house for the Christed Spirit, to purify our mind, our body, and our hearts. We request to dismantle the houses of ego, to evict the imposter spirits. And if you just consider what I just said, you know that it's time. Those imposter spirits that are within us, that step forward and rule our lives out of doing things that are not in alignment with what we would rather do, in being in the Christed Spirit that's here now, that's offering to reside within us. So first we have to request from God to dismantle and evict the ego, and especially those imposters. So the second house is the house of generosity. And this is not a generosity like a GoFundMe account. But what it is a cause for God because everything that we actually have in our lives is a possession owned by God, not by us. And even though your mind might say, but I work so hard for that, nothing is given to us. It's God's world. Remember, this is what we're breathing into, is growing within ourselves, that spirit, and offering it outside of ourselves. So the generosity comes from us first holding, through the breath, a frequency of generosity, aligning ourselves in the knowing and understanding of everything that I possess is from God. All of it. The homes we have, the money we have, the possessions that we have, and the talents and the gifts that we have all come from God. Every single one of them. So generosity means that we become aware that we are just the caretakers, the caregivers, because we give these gifts out to others, but we are only caretakers. We have a privilege being given to us when we hold the frequency of, I have a home. It is God's possession, but I've been given it. The generosity of realizing that that is only something I steward over. And the reason that I want you to think about it is stewarding over is because we're privileged with this type of generosity from the heart of God. So this week, for the next 7 days, when we take this second attribute of the 7 houses of God, I want you to consider how we are breathing in God, this attribute, and how could we make being generous a means of grace for another human being or an animal. So, in other words, how can we make being generous by knowing we are stewarding everything for God a means of grace for another human being? So this means to consider how I can show generosity in the spirit of knowing that I'm being privileged with the stewardship and giving generosity on some level, some way, something. I'm not going to say it's money, and normally it's an energetic movement where another human being is aware of the grace that they've been given from you to them. They're aware of that generosity, that frequency through the breath is being held in them, the grace of that. That's a great exercise this week as we remember the second house of generosity. So now what I'd like you to do is we're going to embody this even more. I'd like you to listen to these words. I state my authority and my intention to be of service through understanding an inner standing. The power of my breath is the life force of God. So God is being generous with us. He's giving us this breath, and it animates us, and it makes it possible for us to turn around and be generous with someone else, where they're aware they've received grace from you. Then they turn around and offer the generosity of the grace. How beautiful is that? So relax. We're not going to breathe in a specific count or impulse. I just want you to listen to the sound of my voice. You are the eternal, infinite, Christed self. You are the infinite love. Just let yourself breathe in the words. You are from divine creation. You are capable of being the wind of generosity. You are capable of being someone's grace coming in through. Just breathe, letting go, regular breath. Anybody can breathe with me today. And with every inhale, remember what I've been teaching you. We're breathing in the power and the love and the divine, the infinite worth that we are as children of the one true God. Breathing that in. And with that comes a responsibility and a frequency that when we wake up, keep breathing, relax, and rest in the word that you are the breath of God. Resting, resting, resting. Thank you for resting in the Word of God, in the center of your heart, breathing in and breathing out, letting go of the day, letting go completely. Rest and just be. Just let go and remember all of what you are, all the talents you possess, all the gifts that you have, all the possessions, the home, the money, the car, food, a coat in the winter. All these are because of God's generosity. Rest in the breath, breathing in and in from the heart of God, right in the center, in the cauldron, which is the solar plexus. Breathing in where the alchemy, the breath, starts creating the energy, the alchemy. And on the exhale, We're offering this to all open hearts with grace. Allow yourself to rest. Stay out of your head. And just imagine breathing in the breath of God in through the lungs, around the heart, massaging the heart with your breath, expanding and opening your heart wider to receive more of God through your breath. Allow that expansion to just break through where the light is so bright. And then in the solar plexus is where this breath, this light, this heart, this receiving grace and generosity is now alchemized and sent out globally into the space, first into the space that you're in, and anyone who might be in the room with you. Expand and see how the expansion feels for you with the breath. Take a really deep breath right now and expand. Allow yourself to feel pushing out, where you almost feel like you're a little lighter, but you're a little taller, more vast. Light body comes on. Beautiful. Letting go, expanding. Let's go outside the home now and expand this alchemy 100 miles. Let's go out, go all the way. Just envision that happening, where you're sending out this energy from the heart of God 100 miles out. All those human beings being able to receive grace from you and generosity. How beautiful, right? How beautiful. Keep breathing, resting in the sound of my voice. You are all invited to sit in the cauldron, rest inside this cauldron with the divine energy of the breath of God and generosity. It's like it's making its way, and when it leaves you, it leaves as grace. How beautiful. Keep breathing nice and easy, relaxing deeper, letting go. And listen to the sound of my voice. The will of God is light. Breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Nice and easy. The will of God is love. Breathing in, breathing out. The will of God is good. The will of God is grace. Breathing in, breathing out. No particular rhythm. Resting Let your energy, let it all fizzle out. If you still feel a lot of electricity, I want you to get into the magnetism of pulling this into you and then sending it out. There's the blessing, sending it out. The will of God is purity. Keep breathing. The will of God is balance. Breathing in, breathing out, nice and easy. The will of God is peace. Peace. The will of God is health. Breathing in, just resting in my voice, letting go, just breathing normally. The will of God is abundance. The will of God is kindness. Breathing in, breathing out. The will of God is unity. Global unified breathing. Thank you for being here. Breathing in, rest in the power of your own breath. And have no doubt that this is the breath of God. The will of God is happiness. Breathing in, breathing out. The will of God is harmony. And then the will of God is perfection. Whew, that's pretty big. So I just want to take a minute today, say thank you, Cindy, thank you, Kathy, thank you, Gary, thank you, Lynn, Yvonne, thank you, beloved, so much for joining me in just a few moments, packed full. Remember the 7 houses, the 7 robes. When you think about this week, I want to remind you is we're calling in this week. Surround yourself with a flowing garment. That's your generosity this week. Wrap yourself in the Christed robe of generosity. We're building a house internally inside of us. We're evicting those robbers and imposters, and we're inviting the Christed one into us. Beautiful. Surround and wrap yourself in a robe of generosity. Allow the light to emanate from within to the outer world as you walk this week. Know that your heart is full of generosity and that you are gracing someone else's life. It can be many things we can do to grace someone else's life. Many things. Many words. Sometimes it's just words. Resting this week, remember, we're setting our phones for our timers to go off 3 times a day and bringing our attention just to the power of the breath. That's all God's asking, is to take a moment 3 times a day and remember to breathe. You're breathing in pure light, the eternalness of our Father. Breathing this in throughout the week. 3 times a day is not much to ask. I hope that you can do this for yourself. Let me know. Generosity. Don't forget to set your phones. And I'm sorry that my friend, one of my clients from 2009, very successful in his career now. His name is Joey Drolshagen, and he has become extremely successful in helping humanity also. And we'll figure out the bugs. Today, I guess God wanted us to all hear about the spirit of generosity. I believe that. So, thank you everyone who's in the chat for showing up today. And I will see you next week. And next week, it's going to be the House of Patience. Who doesn't need more of that lately? Some of us are really being pushed when it comes to patience. So we have to remember where that originates from, right? Next week, we'll talk about this. So thank you, beloveds. See you then.